So with melee, like with at least with my household, like what our focus or our philosophy behind melee is really just strength against weakness. Like what is the strongest thing we have, and what's the weakest thing you have, and like I want to like exploit that and like blow it up. Because now like I can move on to the next thing, and it's just going to get easier.
You find a hole, make it bigger.
Yeah. So the strength against weakness thing really comes down to our other like big phrase, which is like at point of contact, like have more people than you do, and localized numerical superiority, which is just like, all right, you got two armies, bam, like that's really even. Like why would I want to do that? I would rather do this. Like I would rather have more people around them and crush as I go, and be good. That's all it really is. Just and the rest of everything we do is just how to get there. I know Barry's gonna have more on melee.
All right, so before we do anything, I'm the Tactical Fighter, if you've ever seen this before. Tactical Fighter at blogspot.com. I do a blog there. I'm up to like 110 posts now. I've done it like the last 6 years. Just whatever, if we have a melee, I throw my thoughts down. I think they've gotten better over time. So this is my philosophy. It is not caught on yet. So I'm going to push it till it does, or so I die. So I got a mnemonic here. I use the flanks method. This is sort of my, and I think this can apply to just about any style of unit, and I'll get into a little bit of that. But basically, what I like to do is, we're looking at this from like you've got a unit. You could have anywhere from 5 to 30 people in your particular unit, and your unit's going to go out and do stuff. Maybe you're the only unit on the field. Maybe you're one of 10 units on the field. So F stands for secure your flanks. Why is it not an S? Because there's an F over here for flanks. Secure your flanks. The first thing you want to do is you want to say, okay, I've got my unit here, but I've got a side of the unit which is not very strong. I've got a side over here that's not very strong. Do we have people coming in that want to hit us in the side? Usually if you get hit in the flanks, that's really bad. Yeah. People can't defend themselves from the side. Or they could turn around, but now you're sort of, backing up on yourselves. It's not good. And I got some, I've got examples of all these, so I'll just run through them. Number 2.
Leave him, yeah.
I know, he told me not to say that.
I was trying to get no one to say that. I didn't want to hear it.
Let me leave him. This is here for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a really good idea. Number 2, I needed an L. No, it is a really good idea. A, assess who has the range advantage. One unit has 1 shield, 9 spears, and 5 archers. The other unit has all shields. There's attack. Well, if you're that unit, you want to charge. If you're the other unit, you want to kill as many people before they get to you. Right.
Yep.
N, this is going to sound so chivalric. Never fight a fair fight. Or we could say, never engage the enemy if they're going to kill you. This is very different from singles fighting. It's funny because Talon had just talked about the singles mentality. And when we get people trained almost exclusively in singles, we say, you can beat anybody if you put your mind to it. And we go on the melee, don't fight that guy. Give us some time to kill everyone else, then we'll get back to that guy. So it's a little bit of a different mindset. K, know who are your killers and who are your supporters. I'll get into a little bit of detail on that, but sometimes your philosophy might be, you've got a couple of really good knights on your team, and then you got a couple of people who have no idea what they're doing. So usually it's like, let the knights go around and kill the people, and you kind of want to be there and make sure that people don't get behind them, protect your knights. That's just one example. Or it could be, you're in a situation where your spears are going to do all the killing. So if you have a shield, your job might just be to be there as their security. Or vice versa, if you're charging, then the spears have to follow the shield. Yes?
So I'll throw one for know who your killers are. So that's a really good one for know who who's really good on your team. So you can say okay, there's crap going on over there. I need to take care of now. And you can send whoever over there, take care of it, and know that it's done, so that you can kind of do the rest of what you want to do, not have to worry about it, knowing they're coming back. If you send over the newbies, why'd you do that?
Or you send out the newbies, but string him along. Just make him chase you.
Yes.
You're gonna have to coach the newbies a little bit more.
Yeah, that's certainly done that myself. We've had plenty of newbies in the past few years. And then S, spread out your talent, and I'll get into a little bit of that, but usually you don't want to bunch all your spears up on one side. You don't want to put all of your newbies together into one little fight, because you end up creating weaknesses in your unit. So let's see. Oh man, I was expecting a taller ceiling.
Is that the open mind page?
Expecting someone taller.
All right, so I got a couple of examples of dealing with flanks here. Okay, so here we have our red unit, we have our blue unit. Okay, blue unit's in a pretty good position right here. Blue unit's got this red unit completely surrounded. They're coming in from the flanks on either side. They've got everyone engaged here. So this is what I call an envelop. But if the red unit sees this happening, an example, the red unit may not have the kinds of fighters that can fight in this sort of situation. They might want to do more of a shield wall kind of situation. So they could charge at a flank. So they're protecting their right flank by just being outside of the other unit's flank. So their right side's protected. The way they protect their left side is they're running away from those people. So is this effective? Depends on if they do it well. And that's kind of like a lot of these tactics here. There's generally bad ideas and good ideas, and everything else is like, well, who kind of pulls it off better? So in this case, we're going to say like, hey, we're just going to run away from those guys. Hopefully we can kill these guys. You'd said this earlier, numerical superiority. So hopefully we can get these 10 onto these 5 over here before these people get engaged. You can also use terrain to protect the flank. So here we've got a bunch of trees. Look at that, I'm an artist. We've got a bunch of trees. Can I get a laurel for this? No. Okay, sorry.
Practice.
Practice. I didn't practice. Anyway, so yeah, we got some terrain features here. So they say, hey, they're not going to get around us because we've got trees on either side. Over here, you can sort of use your borders. So imagine there's a big field right here. Red team versus blue team. Who do you think's in the better position?
Red team.
Yeah, I would say red team's in the better position. Red team's coming around this outside here. Nobody's going to get around this flank. It's going to be kind of hard to get into this flank. So red team's sort of flanking around this side. This red team is flanking around this side. Blue's stuck in the middle. It's also generally good. Every person on the red team can see every single fighter on the field. Blue team can't see the other half of the field. And if you even stop and think about it for a second, I mean, maybe for those of you that don't fight, it doesn't seem like, it seems like maybe you can just sort of turn and look over your shoulder. It's amazing. Like, my knight's right here. As soon as I look this way, he's gone. I have no idea where he is. And if I turn this way, who knows what he's doing.
That's why
he's
counterhats
still
are
there.
so
Good.
popular in period.
So that's some examples of how you can protect your flanks. Assess range advantage. This one's very basic. Team of spears and archers. Team of shields. The shields want to charge into the archers and spears. The spears hope that doesn't happen. You'd be amazed at how often that doesn't happen. But in some cases, it could be because of bad tactical leadership on this part, inexperience. They could be tired. They could have just finished charging. You can't charge. I think the field battles at Penzig last like 10 to 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's
Solid
Like a
running.
rat, maybe.
that's a college 5K. Like that's a long. You can't sprint the whole time. Yes.
Can I put in a little point on that?
Sure.
So, amongst different martial arts, law enforcement agencies, and military agencies, most hand-to-hand fights last between 30 and 45 seconds, just for perspective.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great
like
example.
The unbelt fight's always like 15 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, and if this was an unbuilt fight, this would be a really bad design for a team.
Unbelts, I mean, literally go about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
45,
Maybe
45,
yeah.
literally, that includes closing the field. So it depends on the Tiger's charge, clearing the distance. So you figure like half and half.
Point of impact to
Point
end,
of impact
probably.
to end.
Yeah.
So never fight a fair fight. Here I've got 2 units on each team. Red team has a unit of 5 and a unit of 5. Blue team has a unit of 4 and a unit of 6. So from Blue's perspective, these guys really do want to get, assuming all else equal, assuming that they're all same ability levels, these guys really want to engage over here. They've got a little bit of an advantage. These guys would kind of like to stall this engagement out. And this is a 4 on 5. No, this is 4-on-6 actually. Yeah, 4-on-6. Yeah, so this is not a good fight. This is the thing that's really difficult to teach because again, so many people are just taught like, you can beat them if you really want to. What we'd rather them do is say like, hey, drag this fight out and wait for these guys to finish this one off, and then they're gonna come back and join you, and then you can finish them off.
That's gonna go back to your skill level though?
Again, this is all things equal.
Oh, all things equal, then yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this could be 4 dukes and 6 newbies, you know. Know who are your killers and supporters, and again, this one, red unit's got a shield wall with 2 spears and a pole arm behind them. So more than likely, they might want to charge this unit, and these people need to kind of follow up the charge and find whatever gaps they can. So these are really going to support more of your shields. Blue team here, they've got 4 spears. They may be up front doing the killing, and everyone back here is the security waiting for the impact to happen, and then there's going to be sort of a shift between who is your supporters and who are your killers. And sometimes supporters and killers are just like newbies versus veterans. I've had, God, we had one Penzic where I think we had the most newbies we've ever had in our unit. We had about a unit of 30, and like 15 had less than 2 years experience. So we did a buddy system. We did, you follow Burkhammer, you follow Talon, you follow Eldwood. Someone was told to follow me, and apparently that didn't go so well. Very hard to follow, apparently. He took off running, and I don't know where he went. And then spread out your talent. Here I have ability levels, and these are level 10 fighters. These are level 1 fighters over here. So the red team has all of their talent on their right flank. They've got a bunch of spears bunched up in the middle. Their left flank is completely unprotected. Blue team has it spread out a little bit more evenly. They got a 10 over here, they've got a 10 over here. Again, these are some general guidelines, just things to think about. This is my overall philosophy toward melee. Again, you can apply this to anything. If you've got a unit of veteran shields, big heavy hitting guys, if you've got a unit of skinny spearmen, you know, these all still apply. It's just how do you apply it to your particular situation.
Can you take your whole block melee stuff, is like when we talked about presence on the field and like that mental game, like that applies to melee too. Like there's times like I've been like in the 100 minutes like in the woods battle where like you can't really run across stuff because like you're in the woods, like there's so much in your way, you can't really run. But like I could find myself, like I could put myself like in a spot and like I knew that like it was not comfortable for like the 4 guys in front of me. Like they weren't happy that I was there, but I was by myself. Like if 2 of them came up, they could have killed me. But if they did that, I would have just backed out and like it would have exposed something on them. So it's that mental game, you can still do it with melee, and you just have to kind of like feel it out. A lot of like what we do is, you know, constantly practice. Like no one's dying for real. So like you can go to a melee event and sort of like play with that idea. Like that could be your goal for the day. Like, oh, like I want to see how like I can mess with people by just being somewhere. And it's like, I'm gonna just be here. And it's like, well, 3 dudes just ran me over and I died. All right, I don't wanna be there. Like, where do you wanna be so that you can make people feel really uncomfortable, but still be effective? And like, not just like, that you're gonna get taken out right away. It's like the other thing we talk about in melee, what do you do when you're by yourself and you're getting chased down by people?
Run.
Run.
Chase you.
Run, but you should stack them up. And you should know that. If you've done enough melee, you should understand that I want to keep fighting a one-on-one fight. That's my best chance. One-on-one is my best chance. So if I can just fight you one-on-one, great. Maybe I hit the guy behind you, but I want to stack them up.
Yep.
And you do that a couple ways. You can like start moving around side to side. You can get them to cross behind each other, but eventually, like they're just going to string out into one line. That's got to be the best way to get chased down. The other part with that is if you have 3 people or 4 people chasing you down in a melee, you took 4 people out of the fight. Like keep going. Like that's their fault.
You know, and that's like a football analogy. Like for example, let's say if they're going to charge at the flag in the woods battle at Penzic, and they outnumber you 2 to 1, you might just give them the flag. You might just say like, all right, we're just going to pull back and give them the flag because we know if we fight them off. If we pull back, they'll have the flag with 30 people and we'll have 15 pressing on them that we can sort of reinforce. But if we fight them, they're still gonna have 30 people, we're gonna have 0 walking back to res point, and now we have to sort of like, rebuild that.
I was gonna say, with the presence bit, this is certainly a factor. When you go up against units in Penzic, if they look like a menagerie of people, you're not so worried, but if you go up against, like you see, Blackheart, Black Talon,
Like they have like a uniform.
they have all a uniform, they look together,
Yeah.
they look impressive, that can play with your head too.
Yeah.
There is you need to convince your opponent that you have won. There is a factor to that. And it is easier to convince them that they lost to you if you look like somebody who can beat them. And this
Yeah, okay.
applies in
Oh, yeah.
singles, this applies in melee.
You're talking social calibration.